start with my 23 Ford F-150. See the running boards are on. I got my bug shield on now. We're going to move on to doing the leveling kit in the front. I went with the 2.5-inch leveling kit. The back end of this truck sits quite high. So I'm going to pull out the trusty Stanley, measure it. So the rear I'm going to call 41 inches. In the front I'm going to call 37. Okay, it's under 37. But so anyways, I know this isn't flat blacktop, but it's close enough for all you haters out there. 2.5-inch lift is going to raise up the front 2.5 inches, so I should be about an inch of rake. That'll make the truck look a lot better. And if I put a trailer on the back or whatever, it should sit level. So stay tuned for the install. All right, everyone, I knocked out the other side so I could prepare myself for this side. This is all the tools that I'll need. I'm going to get the jack. I'm going to jack it up. I'm going to take the tire off, and I'm going to set the jack stand. Okay, the lug nut on these Fords is a 21 millimeter. I always like to set these somewhere where they're not going to roll away. It's kind of nice that I got these steps here now. Okay, I'm going to do my best to show you guys everything. Here's a good spot right underneath the lower control arm that you can set your jack stand, then slowly let the thing down. You'll need to use the jack at a later date. So first thing that I'm going to remove is this little bolt right here that releases my brake line. That's a 10 millimeter. Pretty simple stuff here. That's the last time we'll use that. So I disconnect that and disconnect your lines here. Just kind of pull and wiggle, and these should come out. There we go. So that's just going to give me some extra room when I take all this apart. Now your 21 millimeter will also take apart your tie rod. And because this is a nice shiny new truck, it basically falls apart for you, which is pretty nice. So we're also going to need to take apart the sway bar link, which is right here. Now, you got to break it loose with the 22 millimeter. Ooh, that one came right off. That's pretty nice. The one on the other side did not come off like that. I really had to fight. So that's nice. Okay, now I'm going to remove these bottom bolts for the strut, which is an 18 millimeter. Now at this point in time, I'm going to put the jack underneath there, just to kind of hold it up. And that's literally just getting set there to hold it. Just so it doesn't dump out on me. I need to take this cap off here. For that, I just use these pair of little pliers here, grab a hold of it pretty tightly, and wiggle back and forth until it comes loose. Just like that. And then that is a 13 millimeter, and that releases your axle, so you can slide your axle out. And then these top bolts up here, these are an 18 millimeter. I use my trusty ratchet wrench. On loosen, not tighten. Well, it's a good thing I don't need that, because it's gone forever in the frame. And these nuts you just end up throwing in the trash. I'll show you that in a minute here. Okay, now I'll get an extension, and I believe it's an 18 millimeter. Yep. Get the extension and the 18 millimeter out here, and we'll undo the upper ball joint. This is one of those little swivel ones, really helps out. And then that's it. We'll lower down the, I really wish that would come out of there. Jack back that up a little bit. Now, there they come down when I let the thing down. Take your hammer. There you go. Pop that loose. And then that comes loose. And then that shouldn't pull too hard on that. Then you can pull your axle loose. You'll need all that room. Make sure you loosen up all your wires too. Let all that stuff move. And like I said, then you just pull your axle loose. Okay? Now we can put the jack down the rest of the way. And get this thing. Come out of there. So this is the hard part. Makes it a little easier if you can get that to stay in there, up top. Now none of this stuff's really getting pulled too hard, so. There we go. All right, that right there is the hardest part, I think. All right, don't mind my messy shop here. But you'll need a 15 mil, or 5/8, I'm sorry, 5/8 socket and wrench. And then you'll need your bolts that go onto the bottom of that, or on the bottom of your strut, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So anyways, I bought these 2.5-inch pucks off of American Truck. They're solid billet aluminum, machined out. Fits in here wonderfully. You just got to get the correct orientation, which sometimes is easier said than done. There's the correct orientation. Drop your nuts on. And I always start by just spinning them on first. Whenever you're doing stuff like this, you want to tighten it down in a star pattern to make sure everything loves each other and everything's happy. I'll crack out Okay, and then these are the bolts that go down in from the top down into here, which can be kind of a pain in the butt to line up. These did not come with washers, but I put washers on them. I didn't like the idea of not having washers. So now, for the next big tip, makes it a lot easier. There's this little nipple here that sticks out too far, so you don't want to hit that on anything. So flip it over, put it on a piece of wood, take the nuts that you took off, your strut bolts here, put those on. And then you're going to grab your fancy hammer. And you're going to drive these out. Okay? And you do that because it makes it 10 times easier putting this strut back in. Okay? When you put these in, they'll just draw back into this. And this will twist because when you put this strut in, you spin it 180 from the way it was in there. That's just how that works. And I did put never sees on these because you're putting steel into aluminum. So this part's kind of fun. I like to slide this up in first and start the bolts from up top. I always put these in, kind of just to help keep it from flying around on you. A little hammer. Need to hit it harder. Get your nut started. The bottom, so it can't come out. Do the same thing on the other. Put the other one. Make sure you don't whack your axle here. Okay. Now you can put these in up top. And this isn't the most fun project because you can't see what you're doing. You kind of just gotta feel around and hope you get it in the hole. And like I said, this is not very much fun. This is probably the most tedious part. Found it. Then usually once you find one, the rest gets pretty easy. I've made a liar out of myself. There we go. There's number 2. See if I can find number 3. Number 3 should be real easy. And it was. So these are pretty long-winded. Well, I like to do as much of it I can with my fingers. Shake it around and it'll help you get you as close as you can. That's all she wrote there. And then here, you're going to need a number 8 Allen head. And a ratchet. Like I said, whatever you can get out of it with your fingers is just gonna speed the process up. Now, on the passenger side, I had to use a regular Allen wrench in the back. I couldn't get this in there, but on this side I can get my ratchet in there. So just keep that in mind when you do the other side. They're all nice and tight. And then I don't tighten up the bottom until I kind of get everything back where I want it. That's like the last thing I do, because this piece down here is kicked the wrong way. So you get everything the way you want it, and you pull it, and it'll straighten itself back out. Get your axle in. Be careful not to, bang it up too bad. I'm just going to start jacking up and reassembling here. Takes a little bit of practice. So that as you jack it up, the axle will slide in better. So what I like to do is wiggle that axle around, make sure you're getting that in there good. And I'm gonna put that bolt back on, or nut. That way there, if anything falls, it can't get too crazy. And then we'll check it at the end too. And make sure when you're reassembling everything that your impact isn't on brake stuff setting. So most of this stuff doesn't need to be that tight. Okay? So now we'll use the pry bar, and we'll get the ball joint nut here around, which is, I always like to check them to make sure it's right. Yep, okay. So we'll get this all lined up, and then we'll use our pry bar, and we'll pull the upper control arm down like that. Then we'll spin our upper ball joint nut on. Okay. Now we can start putting everything else kind of sort of together and just run through and tighten everything up. I think that was the wrong one. Okay. We'll mess with that in a minute. Put that. I'm gonna tighten up that ball joint before I put that on. This sway bar link kind of fought me on the other side a little bit too. I'm not exactly sure why I did that, but I had to mess around with it a little bit. I'll continue to mess around with it. But we're just going to hook all this stuff back up. Okay. Now let the jack back down. Oh, I like to let it down, jack it up a little bit. So I'm going to tighten up this nut again. Just want to make sure that that's sitting in there right. Give her a little bit. Yep, it's in there. We're not worried about that. Take your cap, tap your cap back on. Okay, put the tire on, back in. Take the jack out. Okay. Now we just got to run through and tighten everything up. Now, when you're tightening up these bottom strut bolts, everything needs to move. So I tighten up one, then I tighten up the other one. And I tighten it up, and you'll see those bolts suck in to the bottom of the strut. Okay? So pay attention to that. Don't just go crazy, because you can snap those bolts. Especially if you have a pretty good impact. Like this Milwaukee will break them bolts. I've broke one before. gonna try jacking this back up. But this thing fights you going together for some reason. We'll jack it back up and see what happens. There we go. Come on, baby. Yeah. And it just takes some manipulation there. And remember, that's at 22 millimeter again. Okay. So now I need this T45, which goes in here. Very sloppy, by the way. And a 22 millimeter wrench. There's my 22 millimeter wrench. Seen better days. I don't know where my ratchet went. There's my ratchet. So you take this, put it in there like so. And you loosen it to tighten it up. There you go, plenty tight enough. Now, I'm going to put my jack stand back over there. I'm going to jack this up, I'm going to put the wheel on it. And we'll zoom out and talk. Okay. Jack stand out of there. Okay, put the tire on here. Make sure you don't leave your light in there. Done that before. Need that 21 millimeter. Okay, there you go. Make sure all your tools are out of the way, and you can go ahead and let this down. Okay, so you just watched me install a leveling kit on the truck. I'm going to drive this and let it settle a little bit. I have, I call it the big loop up here. Hits about 10 miles. I'll drive all the way around. I'll come back. It's got some twisty, some turny. It's got some highway speeds. So when I come back, I'll wheel it in and we'll do the measurement. I like to do that to get everything to settle. Because as you can see, it looks really, really high now. When I get back, this won't look as high. It will settle down some. So I'm going to get cleaned up and we'll be right back. Okay, so you can definitely see a massive difference front and rear. So we're back with the Stanley Fat Max, and we're going to take the measurements. So the rear. In here I'm measuring 40/75. So that's 40 3/4. And up here I'm measuring 39.5, which is 3/4 of an inch difference. That's just about perfect. So when you do a leveling kit like this, you need to measure the front, measure the rear, and figure out your difference. I always like a little bit lower in the front than the rear. So it's a pickup truck. You're going to be putting stuff in the back. You're going to be hauling a trailer. Something. So if you lift your front too much and then you put anything in the rear, it looks like you're dragging your bumper. So 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rake to me is wonderful. The other thing that you need to do when you do this leveling kit is you need to make an appointment to get a front end alignment done. Because when you do that, you change all the geometry and your tires will actually sit kind of like this. And you need to bring those back like that. So this goes in middle of next week to get the front end alignment done. And that's going to cost me another $100. Having the leveling kit, buying the leveling kit was $60. Of course, I put it in for nothing. So for $160, I leveled my truck. I did a 2.5 inch on this one. Most of the trucks I do are a 2 inch. This really seemed to be pretty high in the rear, higher than most of my other trucks. But anyways, this is probably the 5th F-150 I've done. I've done a couple buddies' trucks. I've done a couple of my trucks. They're all very similar from whatever body style changed to the Strut. I don't know, 04, 05, maybe they changed over to a Strut front end. So from there on up, they're very similar. Like I said, you guys seen the video. So 45 minutes aside with ease, and you're left with a much better stance on your pickup truck. So anyways, I hope you guys like this. I'm pretty much done with the modifications I'm going to do except for the exhaust. I'm not going to video that just because it would be extremely difficult for me to video underneath the truck. I learned my lesson with the running boards. That was a pain in the butt. But Sunday I have a local guy tinting my windows, and then I'll put my rain guards on, and I'll pretty much be done except for the exhaust. I might do some lighting and stuff like that, but stay tuned. I'll do probably a couple 1,000-mile review on the pickup truck when I'm done. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys like it, and we'll see you guys later.